What's up, family? Pastor Darius here, and I want to welcome you to the Darius Daniels YouTube channel, man. Super grateful to have the opportunity to connect with you, and I want to give you a little context for what you're about to hear. You're about to hear a message in a series of messages we did called Relationship-ology. Now, this content, just in case you're watching it around a child, is 18 and older appropriate. Now, it's my heart to never say anything inappropriate, but the subject matter itself is adult oriented. And in addition to that, there is a degree of candor that I operate with that's a little bit different from what I would normally do in messages, particularly because of the way I see how the enemy has been using these area of relationships to traumatize people's souls and to disrupt their destiny. So I want to just lay that before you. I pray you enjoy the message, and if it adds value to you, send it to somebody else.
Series here called Relationship-ology. Clap your hands if the Lord's been speaking to you through it. And this series is not just a series on relationships, it's really a series on strongholds and relational strongholds rather. And strongholds aren't something that has a stronghold on you. Strongholds are the lie, the fences, the ideology, the beliefs that actually create distance and barriers between you receiving truth that actually sets you free. So it's a lie that you're treating like the truth that's keeping you bound. Am I making sense? Yeah. And so, the consequence of some of these strongholds has been just heartbreak and heartache, dysfunction and relational trauma. And what I've discovered for so many that are getting married now is that the first few years of their marital bond is actually trauma bonding, because they have brought so much baggage from the relational cycles of the past into the relationship in the present. We just believe through this series, God's gonna break some of that. Come on, church. He's gonna break some of that. And we've been talking about friendships, and last 2 weeks we've been talking about dating. Next week we're going to have some real conversation about the biblical concept of spiritual family. The next week one of our spiritual sons is going to be here, and he's going to talk. He's really good at talking about family trauma and family drama, because sometimes Cain is jealous of Abel. Y'all not ready? Yeah, sometimes Cain is jealous of Abel. And then I'll be back in the next couple of weeks. I'll talk about what this book has to say about marriage. And so we're going to lean into this today, and incredibly excited to be here. I just want to honor a friend of mine. He's a friend of this house, and he's here in the building today. In my estimation, one of the greatest thought leaders of his generation, and he's a pastor par excellence. And a biblically faithful proclaimer of truth. If you've been around Change at least 2 years, he's been with us, so I know he's unforgettable to you. His name is the Reverend Dr. Reggie Sharp. He's in the building here on the front row. We're glad to have you with us today, brother. Appreciate and honor you. Okay, let's go to Genesis chapter number 24, beginning at verse 1. I'm going to read a few verses, and we're going to leap into our lesson today. Amen. It's been quiet in the church these past few services. Been quiet in the church, but woo, quiet in the church. Genesis chapter 24, verse 1 says, Abraham was now very old, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He said to the senior servant in his household, the one in charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not get away from my son, from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I'm living, but go back to my country among my relatives and get a wife for my son Isaac. I want to stop the reading of scripture there. We're talking from this subject in our time together. And family, remember, I told you this last week. If you're married or even not interested in dating, there's some bread God gives you to eat. And then there's some bread God gives you to share. When Jesus fed the 5,000 men, not counting women and children, he didn't feed them directly. He gave the bread to disciples, and the disciples gave the bread to the crowd. So even if you're married, there are going to be some truths that we're going to teach you today from Scripture that might not be for you personally, but you take this bread and you share it with other people when they're in need. That way you're giving them advice informed by Scripture, not just your perspective based on your experience. Make sense? All right, so we're going to talk from this subject in our time together, family. What are you looking for? Clap your hands, 1230, if you're ready for God's word. What are you looking for? I want to start this sermon with a statement that you've heard me regularly repeat from this platform. And I am re-articulating this axiom because it is uniquely salient for today's sermon. It's simple. You are born looking like your parents, but you die looking like your decisions. You are born looking like your parents, but you die looking like your decisions. In other words, divine sovereignty doesn't eliminate human responsibility. God will guide our choices, attempt to govern our choices, but he created us to be individuals with agency, with volition and free will. So he will not control our choices. And because he will not control our choices, he has adopted the divine posture and position that I will let you live on whatever level you settle for. And this is a truth that not only applies to our life generally, it is also a truth that applies to our life relationally. Our relational destiny is largely impacted by our relational decisions. I said it last week, I'm going to say it this week, and I'm standing 10 toes down on it. It is uniquely difficult to have a good relationship when you made a bad pick. Therefore, there is a truth that is postured in this passage here in Genesis chapter number 24 that I think everyone who takes spouse selection seriously needs to take into consideration. And this truth, this principle, this axiom is as follows. Just because someone is a good person does not mean they're a good partner for you. Just because they're fine doesn't mean they're a fit. Just because they're rich with coin doesn't mean they're ready for commitment. Just because they're pretty doesn't mean they prepared. And just because you have chemistry doesn't mean we have compatibility. Therefore, every person that wants to make wise decisions when it comes to spouse selection must learn the difference between desirability and suitability. Just because you want them doesn't mean you need them. And just because it feels good when you are together doesn't mean things are good when you get together. They may be romantic, but that doesn't mean they're responsible. Romance plans the dates, but responsibility pays the bills. It keeps the promises. It tells the truth. It doesn't blow our accounts, doesn't take our arguments to the internet, doesn't embarrass our family, and doesn't put my health in jeopardy in my house because you're running reckless in these streets. Responsibility. Therefore, everybody who takes spouse selection seriously must have a healthy and biblical theology of suitability. Just because they are smart, just because they are successful, y'all not ready for this, and just because they saved does not mean they are suitable. And this theology of suitability is anchored in a passage in Genesis chapter number 2, verse number 18. It's an interesting statement that God makes. It's a statement that God makes after he engages in the creation of Adam. He stepped back and does some observation and evaluation of his creation and comes to this conclusion: it's not good that what I just created, based on the assignment that I've given him, it is not good that he exists in isolation. He will never experience optimization as long as he's operating in isolation, and he needs something that I'm not going to give him directly and the animals can't give him. So he says, I'm going to have to make what he needs. Let me go. God says what he needs is so specific, it's so customized, it's so consequential. I can't give him something random. I've got to give him something customized, unique, extraordinary, special. I got to make what he needs. So let me put him to sleep, which represents a season of inactivity. And after a season of inactivity, I'm gonna pull something out of him, and then I'm gonna make something for him that when he sees what I sent, he's going to say, now this right here is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. And some of your dating conundrums is you've been making generic choices when you got a customized assignment. God's like, I'm gonna have to make yours. You're not just gonna get that off the shelf. I'm gonna have to make yours. I will make for him a helper suitable. A helper that's suitable. Now, I'm not gonna bother this too much. I'm not gonna bother this too much. But when we start talking about marriage in a few weeks, we're coming back to this because we got to do some healthy and biblical deconstruction and expose where some people have made social norms the equivalent of theological claims. Because the word that the writer uses for helper here is very interesting. It's a word that is often used, I think, over 20 times in the Old Testament to refer to God. A very present help in the time of trouble. This is the same word that the writer uses to describe Eve. So when he says helper, or some translations helpmate, some translations help meet, he is not saying a subordinate or a secretary. That's another message. Right? Because some people confuse and conflate submission with subordination. We're going to deal with it later, but you cannot get submission in marriage right without getting the Trinity right, because the Trinity models for you what it means not to be a subordinate, but to submit. The second person of the Trinity thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but he lowered himself and submitted to someone he was equal to because the mission required somebody to get under it. And if you have to make somebody a subordinate to get them to submit, that says a lot about your leadership, not just their nature. Because if you'll lead her like Christ, she'll submit like the church. Let me. Yeah, some people are not submitting because they're arrogant and because they're dealing with unprocessed trauma and cynical. But then some people aren't submitting because honestly they love you, but they don't see you as safe. They trust your character, but they don't trust your judgment. When you take bill money and buy a boat, you want me to submit? Okay, let me. That's not what we're talking about, though. He says, helper, suitable. Suitable. It's really weird. It's this really weird because he uses this interesting word here. It modifies Ezra. It's suitable. It's corresponding to him. It is as like in front of, or like opposite in front of. It's interesting. It's facing him as a counterpart rather than duplicating him. This is interesting. Culture calls it compatibility. We call it suitability. Here it is. Don't miss this interesting word here. We not the opposite and we not the same. But like two pieces of a puzzle, we fit. So biblical suitability is this. We similar enough to connect. We distinct enough to complete. We capable enough to fulfill. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I see me in you without having to conjure up trivial similarities. Because all similarities aren't equally significant. And some people are defining chemistry based on insignificant similarities. We like the same movies, so we should be together. How is that going to affect the relationship? Oh my God, that's got to be my soulmate. We got the same favorite color. What are you talking about? I need to know, do we have similar morals? Do we have similar vision? Do we have similar values? Do we have similar work ethic? So we're similar enough to connect. This is this organic, unforced connection. But then we distinct enough to complete. It means we rich where the other person's poor. Because when you don't understand this, you will see the danger when you are too different. But you won't see the danger in duplication. Because duplication can be dangerous just like difference. Because if we both got the same weaknesses, we in trouble. Did you hear what I just said? If you're not rich where I'm poor, we still vulnerable in the same area. We just compounded our weaknesses. Did you hear what I just said? Both of us can't be bad with money. Both of us can't be bad with people. Both of us can't be weak in our faith. Some of us have to be rich where the other person's poor. Now here's the problem. This distinction often creates some tension. And it's tension that we don't want. But the tension brings the balance you need. So you don't like the tension, but you need the balance. You spend too much, she spend too little. It creates tension, but it brings balance. Let me go over here. You don't take enough risk, they take too much risk. It creates tension, but it brings balance. You don't trust nobody, they trust everybody. It creates tension. And some of us have been so traumatized by toxicity in relationships, you think all tension is toxic. So you treat the asset of tension like it's a liability. Similar enough to connect. You with me? Similar enough to connect, distinct enough to complete, capable enough to fulfill. God's in the garden, animals are in the garden, and God makes this observation, comes to this conclusion. It's something you need. You aren't going to get directly from me, and you can't get from animals. Eve's going to meet a relational need. So, are y'all with me? So there are all sorts of needs that we have. We got physical needs, don't we? You got to eat, you got to have food, clothing, shelter, right? Then you've got spiritual needs. Your spirit is literally made to commune with God. You got emotional needs. We got relational needs. Needs that are met in the context of a relationship. The question is, do you know what yours are? Because if you don't have a filter to vet whether or not they have the capability to meet them. And so now you're with them and mad for them not being something they never was. Now, don't confuse capability with competence. Capability deals with capacity. Competence deals with skill. So they may not always have the skill immediately, but if they are coachable and humble and correctable, then you can guide them on how to acquire the skill to meet the need that you have. And when people don't recognize this, they treat the major like it's minor, they treat the minor like it's major, and they walk away from a potentially providential partner over something that's trivial. They say things like, he can't dress. If you don't take him to Lennox. Did you hear what I just said? If you don't take him to Lennox and he got money, you can take him to Lennox with his credit card. I like him, but he don't have no style. You the stylist. Baby, wear this. Stop. Wear this. Take that off. Go back. Take that off. Y'all not ready. I gotta go. Y'all. Hey, when I was writing this, I started feeling the way. It's the weirdest thing. I'm writing this sermon. Then I thought about, I'm like 19, 20 years old. Me and Pastor Shamika dating. And I remember it was my birthday. And she was so smooth with it. She said, oh, it's your birthday? I'm gonna take you shopping. So you gonna take me shopping? Okay. Take your boy shopping. I'm telling Kayla, yeah, she taking me shopping, man. You know? She give me these outfits. She picking out all the, She picking. We went to North Park Mall, County Line Road, Jackson, Mississippi, to a store called Dillard's. She picking out Nautica outfits. Y'all don't know about Nautica. And Britt, now I started putting this message together, I thought about it. She was like, this a good man, Savannah, but I got it. He from Kilmichael, he needs some. She said, let me get this boy these Stacey Adams while we Similar enough to connect, distinct enough to complete, capable enough to fulfill. Because desirability doesn't mean suitability. So what metrics do I use? What filter do I use? What criteria do I create to see if we're similar enough to connect, distinct enough to complete, capable enough to fulfill? This is where our text becomes a textbook that can offer us some insight in this particular area. You see, Genesis 24 gives us a schematic for suitability. The word Genesis means origin or beginning. So the content contained in the book of Genesis is content that exposes us to origins and beginnings. We see the beginning of world and creation. We see the beginning of the human species. We see the beginning of family. We see the beginning of sin. We see the beginning of covenant. And some of the content contained in Genesis, most of it tracks the life of biblical characters. Some of the content contained in Genesis is what's called descriptive. It is describing what happened, but not endorsing what happened. Does that make sense? Okay, so after the flood, Noah has too much Merlot. Stop sanitizing the scriptures. Too much Merlot. It's called Pinot? What's it called? Huh, is that right? No, y'all know what I'm talking about though. Too many French 75s. It's descriptive, not prescriptive. Abraham lies and calls his own wife his sister. That's descriptive, describing what should happen, but not prescriptive, not prescribing. But then there are some lessons we see in the life of biblical characters, and God exposes us to what happened with them because it gives some education and some insight for us. And Genesis 24 is one of those passages. This shouldn't just be descriptive concerning what Abraham did. We could look at it and we should see some prescriptions for what we should do. Because even though this text is not about dating, dating's not in the Bible, this text is about spouse selection. And you have a man who clearly hears from God, who's called a friend of God, who's called the father of the faith, who gives very clear criteria to his senior servant about what to look for when you're choosing a spouse for my son. The fact that, he gets specific. He made the servant. Now, this was just a symbol of swearing. It was metaphorical. It was covenantal in a sense. He says, hey, I need you to swear, because I don't know if I'm going to be around, but I need you to swear that you're going to follow this criteria when it comes to picking a wife for my son. This shows us something about the way Abraham saw divine sovereignty versus human responsibility. His attitude wasn't just, God got it. Come on. He could have just said, I'm going to pray about it, and God got it. He told that servant, I need you for this. Because the same spirit that I'm waiting to speak to me to say, this the one, it's the same spirit that can help me not see them first, but see me first. Because he know me better than I know myself. And show me, and then show me whether or not they're showing me what I need to see to determine whether or not they for me. Did you hear what I just said? So in the text, we see several areas where I'm arguing Abraham encourages his servant to explore suitability. Yes, you see prayer in the text. We don't talk about that. They prayed, but he also watched. He looked. So there are a few areas in the text we see. And these areas that Abraham looked at should just be areas we look at. Does that make sense? So when we're dating and we're gathering data, we're having conversations to extract this information. First area, right here in the text, is their spiritual suitability. Pastor, where you get this from? Verse 3. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven, that you will not get a wife for my son among the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I'm living. See, when Abraham makes this statement, this is not about ethnicity. It is not about geography. It is about idolatry. The Canaanites were an idolatrous people. And Abraham knew very clearly that whoever my son marries, he's not just marrying them, he's marrying what influences them. And whatever is influencing them is going to impact me. And they need to be aligned when it comes to what's influencing them. They need to be aligned in terms of who governs the relationship. They need to be aligned when it comes to who do we appeal to as a source of authority when we don't agree. Here is what you see. You see here, you see here the first signs of what Paul calls in the New Testament unequally yoked. Now, when Paul uses this term, he's not talking about dating. He's not talking about covenantal relationships. He's not talking about marital relationships. He says, don't be yoked together with unbelief. Am I making sense? But if it applies to non-covenantal relationships, why would it not apply to covenantal relationships? Now, when he uses this language, that people group will be familiar with some imagery that we are not, which is why we do a lot of guesstimating and pontificating about what this means. A lot of times it's strong and wrong. What Paul is using here is an agricultural analogy that we see even mentioned specifically, I think, in the book of Deuteronomy, where Israel is advised, do not yoke an ox and a donkey together. Did you hear what I just said? So this apparatus that they use to plow a field, he said, don't put an ox on one side and a donkey on the other side. If you got an ox on one side and a donkey on the other side, it's unequally yoked. Number one, an ox is stronger than a donkey, and a donkey is more stubborn than an ox. So when the master tells the ox to plow, the ox will move, but the donkey might stand still. Did you hear what I just said? Now, the only way this works is if you're an ox that act like a donkey. It means you don't take your religion seriously. So if you just kind of half in, they don't have to be in at all. But if you're one that's listening to God, submitted to the scriptures, got your ear open toward heaven, trying to really do this thing third way, you're going to hit a point where the master's going to say, move, sell, buy, don't do that, serve, tithe, this, that. And you're ready to move. And the donkey's like, why we got to do that? At some point, that friction, that exhaustion is going to create resentment. Because you're going to have two people showing up in the relationship differently. I'm showing up trying to love you like Christ. So I'm trying to be patient and long-suffering, and you moody, temperamental, attitudinal. I'm trying to be generous, you stingy. Y'all aren't talking to me. Like, I'm trying to keep no record of wrong. You keep reading out my list of wrongs. I keep turning the other cheek. You keep exploiting my humility. Because I won't do back to you what you'll do to me. You keep doing it. You keep playing me. Because I take my Christianity seriously. At some point, you're gonna get tired of dragging that donkey. And then you'll be looking at God, and God's like, you got under this yoke. I got to go. Here it is. So this means spiritual suitability does not mean we just share the same faith. Just because they saved does not mean they safe. So it doesn't just mean we share the same faith. It means we share the same spiritual values within the context of our faith. So it's not just, are you Christian? It's like, okay, you can still be a narcissist, a gaslighter, a liar, a manipulator, a thief. What kind of Christian are you? What kind? Does that make sense? So if you're biblically balanced, but they're incarcerated with legalism, how that's gonna work? I'm saying that because when I first met First Lady, I started preaching at 19. I was a legalist, a Pharisee of Pharisees. This is how big a Pharisee I was. See, some of y'all too young for what I'm about to get ready to go. But back in my day in college, we had something called CD players. This the young section. What the old section? They're like, what's that? What? Okay, right here. Huh? 6-disc CD changer. When you got in somebody's car, you see something that looked like a photo album. You open that thing up. You got CDs all in there. So me and First Lady dating. I get in her car, she had this little green Geo Prism. I get in the car. John, I get in the car. I pick up that little album. I open that album. And I say, what is the meaning of this? Now this is about to be too old for some of y'all. I open the album, I see Juvenile. Why y'all shout? Master P. Lil Wayne before the tattoos. I get in the car, all I hear is, the block is hot, the block is hot, ha, ha, the block is hot, the block is hot, ha, ha. It's bad. I said, we need some Donnie McClurkin in here and some Kirk Franklin. I made her throw those CDs away, and I gave her Donnie McClurkin, Fred Hammond's Pages of Life, and Kirk Franklin. GP, are you with me? Just a Pharisee. I was so bad. She literally, because my pastor was coaching and counseling us while we were dating. I was so bad. After our first date, she told my pastor. Let me tell you how bad I was. On the first date, I took her to a Creflo Dollar convention. And she went. I don't know what. She told my pastor called me. He said, son, he used to call me Son Daniels. Son Daniels, you got to have some balance. It's funny when you're dating. It's a problem when you're married. Yeah, they're a Christian, but is there compatibility, suitability in terms of the way you're practicing your faith? Because if you're a person that believes that the scriptures lead to an integrated whole life, well, like the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon says you enjoy the fruit of your labor, you enjoy the wife of your youth. If you believe that the Song of Songs is in the Bible as a powerful picture, not just of Christ's relationship with the church, but as a powerful picture of possibility for those of us who are in covenantal relationship with one another, you have to have some balance. And I'm not saying if that sort of expression of Christianity works for you, cool. But if not, you're in for a lifelong tension. You're going to be on the beach in Cabo, and they're going to have you in a blue jean skirt and tennis shoes. Y'all not. Y'all listen to me. They tired, yo. Let's play. Let's start. Y'all listen to me. Everything I'm teaching you is from the perspective of a person who is helping people navigate problems on the other side of the covenant. I'm telling you, this is the stuff that show up. You have to check this. If not, you'll be inside the covenant, and now you got to tolerate it. You got to break covenant, or you got to stay broken. Then there's character compatibility. Where do you see that, Pastor? Verse 5, the servant asks him, what if the woman is unwilling to come back with me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the country you came from? Notice the word that he uses, willingness. Now look what happens in verse 8. Abraham says in verse 8, okay, if she's unwilling to come back with you, then you'll be released from this oath of mine. Just don't take my son back there. So willingness here speaks to adaptability, flexibility, amenability, movability. So there's spiritual suitability, and then there's character suitability, meaning what are the kind of character traits that your life requires another person have? So if the nature of your life is going to have you moving and there's unpredictability to it and things of that particular nature, and you have a person that doesn't carry those character traits, tension. You also need to be clear on what attributes you find unattractive. Because bad attributes makes a handsome person ugly to you. You're like, you know what? You looked good until you started talking, and now you don't look good anymore. What am I on? Number 3? Relational suitability. This request or this desire for her to be willing to come to Canaan is interesting because it means she's got to leave her family. So what are your relational roots like? Here's a larger principle. I don't want us to get caught up in, because everybody should leave and cleave. But here's a principle I want to pull from this passage. How relationally enmeshed are you with your family? And will your familiar bond keep you from creating a covenantal bond with me? Are you going to put me in a position where I got to check somebody because you won't? Let me go over here. I felt it got a little cold over there. 100%. So if your family is over involved and over opinionated and putting me in these weird spots, do I know you will handle them? Because I don't want you to put me in a position where I gotta handle them. Are you here? I said, are you here? Now you mad at me because I got to check your daddy, but the only reason I had to check your daddy because you won't check your daddy, and your daddy treating me like y'all not talking to me. I love your mother, but I married you. Also, what kind of relational boundaries do you set with your family, and are you willing to honor the boundaries I request? So you got permission to tell your family anything you want to about you. You do not have permission to tell your family anything you want to about me. We need to agree. Because after me and you make up, they still looking at me strange at Thanksgiving, and I ain't going back. Let me go here. Number 4. Y'all taking notes? I hope you taking notes. I'm telling you, this is all the stuff Pastor Shmika and I have to help people untangle in marriage. Yes, this is in the text, but these are things we're telling you. If you can just get these issues right, it's half the battle. Physical suitability. Look at this. Verse 15. Before he finished praying, Rebecca came out with a jar on her shoulder. Look at verse 16. She was very beautiful and a virgin. So notice now, it calls her beautiful. It doesn't call her very beautiful till verse 15, not verse 1. We see her character before we see her looks. So this doesn't mean physical suitability doesn't matter. It means you need to assign proper value to it. Because the Bible's clear, beauty fades. So you can't make a lifetime commitment based on something that won't be there for a lifetime. Some people are like, Pastor, I'm going to be fine until all right. However, just because we shouldn't idolize attraction doesn't mean we should ignore it. So you have to determine, where does this matter to me? And don't act like it don't if it does. You understand? So if it's verse 15 for you, it's verse 15 for you. And that's great. But for some of you, you got this sense of spirituality that makes you feel like it's vain if you value the physical attraction. That's not vain. That's wisdom. That's what you like. If not, you're going to be married and he going to pull up in the driveway. It's 8 o'clock at night. Now you're running upstairs, getting into bed, playing sleep. You not asleep, wake up. You don't want him to touch you. It's not vain. Christians not honest. Then get married like, how you doing? I'm struggling. What? Now, y'all not ready for this. The text says she was very beautiful and a virgin. Now, contextually here, let's treat the text fairly. A woman's worth was largely determined by that. Suitability for marriage was largely determined by that. That's not the principle I want to pull from the passage here. What I want to pull from the passage is this, that this text not only gives us guidance on suitability when it comes to physical attraction, but suitability also when it comes to intimacy. Now, what you want? Because don't covenant what you want and then not get it and then use that as an excuse to go outside the covenant and be running around. Let's sit down like adults. Y'all are not talking to me. We got the teens in the tent. Let's talk. The Bible lays out the boundaries. So we will not go outside the boundaries that the Bible lays out. But all up in here, we need to talk. This section is too. We need to talk. We need to talk about frequency. We need to talk about creativity. Let me go. I feel my love way over here in this section. We need to talk. So I can know what you expect. So I'm not about to do that now. Play. Let's go home. That's it. That's it. These are things that come, I'm telling you, these are things that become conundrums in the context of marriage because people don't talk about them. They don't see if we're suitable here. And this might not even be something that matters much to you. It's fine if it doesn't. But if it does, bring the camera here. Let's just go. That's it. That's it. I want to pray. Okay, I do. I am cheating you. The last ones. Play. The last one was financial suitability. Aaron and Laban, Laban is in Rebecca's family, and Abraham. So Abraham and Rebecca's family were both people of means. And you got two extremes of conversations out here. One is like, it's all about money. And then the other conversation is like, money doesn't matter. And I just feel like you have to be honest with you in terms of what qualifies as financially suitable. Does that make sense? There has to be honest conversations about that. So if a person only gets with a person for money, that's one thing. But if a person says, part of what helps me sleep is knowing we will have lights when I wake up, that's not vain. Am I making sense? I said, am I making sense? And I love this because Rebecca's making her decision not because she needs to be rescued. She was good. She made a decision out of desire, not out of desperation, because the family, read the text, the family didn't force her. They asked her, do you want to go? Are you willing to go? She said, I am. She said, I'm choosing him because I love him, not because I need. Family, I know some of the things I said today may have been humorous, but the content is serious. I have seen nothing break people like this. I have seen people bury their parents and not shed a tear, and I've seen somebody with a broken heart literally go to their knees. I've seen nothing break people like this. And in a church like ours, with such a large demographic of unmarried, it's irresponsible for us to let the devil just keep having his way in this area and we not have some discussion about it.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that message. I want to thank you for finishing it. And my request is really simple. If it bless you, would you just send it to somebody else? That's it. That's all. And for those of you who each week sow into this teaching ministry, I want to thank you for that. Thank you for seeing this as a trusted source of spiritual nourishment. And I just pray Ephesians 3:20 over you. May God do exceedingly and abundantly above all you ask or think. Ways to give on the screen. I love you. See you next time.